This is Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search for my site. It's from the New York Times. How to hide $400 million. It's a story about a divorce between an ultra-wealthy man who had hidden his money, allegedly of $400 million, from his wife. The man's name is Robert. The woman's name is Sarah. I continue. As we sat down, Potter slid a stapled stack of papers down the bar toward me. It was a court brief. Potter explained one of the hundreds he had. Fisher, he fled in particularly naughty cases involving a man named Robert. If he truly wanted to peer inside the hidden world of the super rich, Potter told me, and if wanted to understand how extremely wealthy people protected their wealth, I ought to read the case, public court filing, the judge, and myself. For myself. Not long after, I met Fisher at his office in Florida, a modest fourth-floor space equipped with plush leather chairs, sweeping view across the water to client-rich Palm Beach. At 61, Fisher is short, wiry, with thinning gray hair swept back over his high and gentle tan forehead. In a cross-examination, he stands erect, chest cocked, as if to fill the courtroom. When Fisher talks about working the Florida divorce circuit, he makes it sound almost fun. The beauty of high-end divorce law, it is usually handled on an expedite basis, Fisher said. If you're a person like me who doesn't want a 5-year-long case, there's nothing better. Sarah hired him about a year earlier, not long after seeing her husband with the interior designer. Robert responded by filing for divorce in Canada, where Fisher could not personally represent Sarah, and threatened to cut off his wife. She had $90,000 in the bank, not enough for a protracted legal battle, but she also had a cell phone picture of documents concerning something called Cook Island Asset Protection Trust, which she found in a few months earlier. Robert was listed as the settlor, the person who donates property to a trust. Cook Trust was a bad sign. A typical estate planning trust is designed to allow something to benefit from property, a home, a plane, a bank account, without technically owning it or controlling it. The independent trustees, sometimes an individual, sometimes specializing firm, is assigned to make decisions about the best use of the asset. The independents can, for example, provide tax advantage to prevent spendthrift beneficiary from plowing through an inheritance. But in some cases, the claim of independence is a sham. The trustees are puppets. The settlor still controls the assets in practice. And trust organized in Cook Islands, a self-governing state association in New Zealand, are particularly difficult to investigate. Cook courts typically do not recognize American court orders, including divorce judgments. To sue a Cook Trust, you have to actually fly to Cook Islands in the middle of the South Pacific, roughly 6,000 miles southwest of Florida. It's like Switzerland used to be, but squared. Fisher told me once assets were hidden inside a Cook Trust, he had learned it was almost impossible to get them out. Emails in Sarah's possession hinted as why Robert might have found a Cook Trust appealing. Searching through the trash folder on Sarah's laptop, Fisher, paralegal, found that 2011 emails he had been copied on. The one in which Robert had asked the lawyer to remove him from the country of evil, also contained in a reply from Xacti's corporate counsel, Jennifer Miller. She wrote that if Robert created a parallel company structure of companies outside the U.S., moved his operations offshore, and implemented a personal asset protection strategy, he could become almost untouchable. Any money spent to sue him in the United States, Miller assured him, would probably be wasted. Fisher knew he needed to act quickly. He didn't know where Robert had put the family money exactly. He didn't have any direct evidence of fraud. But the longer the case dragged on, the more opportunity. Robert might have drained the assets out of the country into untouchable accounts overseas. The documents in Sarah's cell phone pictures showed corporations in Caymans and Nevis, both well-known offshore. What companies did. Roberts had stopped making mortgage payments on the house in Boca Raton. She later said in court filings and threatened to evict her mother and disabled aunt from the house that they bought in Wales. He warned Sarah that if he wouldn't pay any bills until she agreed to settle, your mortgage of $20,000 is due at the first. She texted to Sarah, late fee $500 on Friday, bad credit in 30 days. I recommend you pay it. Fisher had to freeze Robert's transactions in place until he could gather more evidence. The only way to do that, Fisher concluded, was to hit him from two sides at once. In late March 2014, Fisher filed a divorce action on behalf of Sarah in Palm Beach County, hoping to wrest divorce proceedings back to Florida from Canada. But he also prepared a related civil complaint citing the Cook Trust and Robert's threatening emails. Fisher wrote in court papers, was using legal asset transfers to defraud his wife, the co-owner of his companies. The set of the claims would leverage Sarah's rights as a wife. The other, critically, would leverage her rights as an owner. Within days, Fisher pursued a judge in Palm Beach, Jeffrey D. Gillen, to impose sweeping asset injunction. Against Robert, one that prohibited him from selling, merging, borrowing anything against his assets. The order would stop additional offshoring if Robert complied. Fisher also obtained a 2012 tax return from the family's holding company, RSOP, name of the anagram of Robert and Sarah initials. The return showed that RSOP had grossed more than $73 million that year, the amount that Sarah says she found astonishing. But Fisher scrutinized the tax return. He found something even more shocking. Despite the impressive gross, RSOP was an ordinary business income of just $12,000. Virtually all revenue had somehow evaporated. That was when and why Fisher dispatched Sarah to the Bahamas to gather clues about where the money went. When Sarah returned to the house to confront the caretaker that day, she told me the caretaker admitted removing the papers from her suitcase. Bahamian police took custody of the papers, but later, for reasons they never explained, handed them over to Robert. When Fisher tried to subpoena the papers back, Robert's lawyers said he could not find such documents. In any case, they wrote, Sarah had no right to stolen materials. But back in Florida, Fisher's legal blitz was having an effect. In a rush to freeze his assets, Robert invoked his right to emergency hearing. It handed Fisher a crucial opening. Florida law now gave Fisher the right to demand documents on a highly expedited basis from any company or person who might have evidence relating to the hearing. Shortly thereafter, Fisher detailed requests arriving on the desk of Robert's bankers, his lawyers, his accountant, his tax planners, stockbrokers, and most of the senior executives. This has been Tom Doody, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Doody in a Google search from my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.